Hi, this is Roston Callerman with the LK10 community. I'm here with Kent Smith of both of the LK10 community and the Eden community, and we're here today out on the land of the Eden community. You're looking up one of our brand new swales, which we probably won't tell you anything about, but it's a cool thing you should look up. And Kent is going to tell us a little bit more about what the Eden community is, and then also the connection between the Eden community and the LK10 community. So, hello, Kent.
Hello, Roston.
So what is this Eden community here?
Well, I'd like to talk about how lots of people in our time, find themselves just in a whirlwind of demands on their attention. And one of the big questions I think a lot of us face is, how in the world am I going to find a space to step back from the whirlwind long enough to really think hard about what I want to give my attention to, what deserves my attention. And I think that's a question that lots of people have these days. It's my sense that one of the great needs of our time is space for people to remember again who it is they're called to be, what it is that matters most in their lives. So this place and the community that's here to support this place is really about creating that kind of space for folks. A lot of people in LK10, I think, are in the middle of busy lives, and they're finding some fresh rhythms of attention to God, to themselves. And as we travel into that journey a ways, it begins to dawn on a lot of us, I think, man, isn't there a way for me to bring more of my life into alignment with what's truly important, what really matters? And so we feel like that in addition to what's happening with Church 101 and now Leader 101, where we're building communities at a virtual level, there's probably a real need, and we know this is the case because people are asking us about it, for chances to have face-to-face training, chances to really think hard about what will a way of life look like that is really open and creatively engaging the possibilities for ongoing attention to God with not just a little bit of our time or most of our time, but really with our whole lives. So that's a lot of what Eden community is all about, and that's a lot about what this new center here in West Texas is about.
So you're talking about finding ways to open up attention in day-to-day life. How does that connect back with the LK10 community?
Well, I think one of the things God's taught us, been teaching us from the beginning with LK10, is that attention is our most precious asset. And for most Americans, it's been stolen so many ways that our lifestyles take our attention away from us, whether it has to do with the time we have really to directly attend to God, but also just the busyness of our lives, the expense of living, the cost of child care and health care, the cost of paying rent and mortgages, so many things that we kind of take for granted as just a necessary part of life in America. And as most of us live, it is a necessary part of life. But if we were to live differently, if we were to live more simply, if we were to live sharing more, loving more, which is really what sharing is all about, we could open up space to live in fundamentally different ways, ways where time and attention was available to us in a way that most of us haven't experienced. And I think that's a vision that a number of us are exploring and seeing God bless in amazing ways. I think lots of people are trying to get a handle on what that looks like, and that's certainly part of what we want to do, is help people in LK10 get handles on how to live more sanely as a people of God in our time.
So the thing that I'm hearing from you is that through engaging with LK10, a lot of people are experiencing a new way of paying attention to the world around them. They're experiencing a new way of paying attention to each other. But at the same time, it's just really, even inside of that, it's really easy to just continue living life mostly in the same ways that we've always lived life. And we're experimenting with, here at the Eden community, we're experimenting ways to carve out more attention. We're experimenting with ways to change even the way we look at the most fundamental aspects of our lives, beyond even more so than just like, what does it look like to change the way we think about church. We're talking about how do we change the way we look at all of life.
Absolutely. And I think historically that's how God's people have been most effective, especially in times of great challenge from the wider culture. That was certainly true in the first centuries of the church. That's been true down through the ages, in the days of the Celts when the Roman Empire was falling apart. And that was the way things were in the days of the Moravians, when the empire of Europe was really reaching all over the world and into new people groups. And we may be in that kind of a time again where it's important for the people of God to think deeply about how can we imagine a way of life that is actually good news to us as well as good news to the people around us, and to think more missionally, to think more about how we can live as missional community in a way that is not retreating from the world, not withdrawing from the world, not moving out into the country. The point is not agrarian living. The point is having time and space to think deeply about how does God want me to engage fully with what I have to offer? How does God want us to engage as a community fully with what we have to offer, with the great needs that are all around us, the brokenness that surrounds us wherever we live in this day and age?
So you're not saying that in order to follow God, people have to move out into the country?
No, in fact, I think very few people are probably called to move into the country, but I think historically God has used wilderness, countryside, as a place for the city dwellers and suburban dwellers as well as country dwellers to remember again who they are. And so we want to create those kind of spaces, and hopefully whether people end up in inner city or in the suburbs or in the countryside, they'll live the rich life that God intends for them to in that place.
That's really good. I was reading an Anthony DeMello last night, I believe late, I believe he passed away, but the great Jesuit retreat leader, who was talking about how retreat is especially important for leaders in spiritual community, that getting that opportunity to go into the wilderness, like you were saying, to engage more deeply, to dive more deeply into the life of God, to have more, to be spiritually renewed, to be able to continue to pour into and draw out the folks that are part of your spiritual community, which is hugely important for something like the LK10 community, because this community is just chock full of people who are starting churches, who are engaging, who are always, looking for the next 10 to be answer. If that's all we're doing, if we're always reaching out and never reaching in, then it's so easy to get burned out.
Boy, that's so true. I mean, it's a spiritual truism that we can't give what we don't have. I can't give what I don't have. And if I'm not being refilled and renewed in my life with God on a regular basis, on a steady, consistent basis, if we as a community are not being renewed in our lives together on a steady and consistent basis, then we really have very little to offer. Our news is not so good. We have the same burnout realities kind of controlling our lives that the people around us have. So yes, I think it is very much required, it's essential for the people of God to be figuring out in our time, what do sane rhythms of life look like? And for that, you have to pause, you have to be still long enough to think deeply about what does life need to look like that's different from life as I'm experiencing it right now. So we need to create those kind of spaces.
That's good. And so to tie back into something from earlier, we were talking about how this life with God engages every aspect of our engagement with the world. So what kind of things are going to be happening out on this community land besides hosting retreats?
Well, obviously the community itself that lives here and that serves as the team working with those who come to us will be learning these rhythms ourselves and continuing to deepen those rhythms that we've begun together. And we hope that on every level, whether it's raising children or raising food or raising animals, whatever it is that we're called to participate in here, that the things that we're learning will be valuable to others.
That's great. So yeah, raising children together out here, raising food out here, sharing life out here.
Yeah.
That's very exciting. Anything else you want to add to this conversation?
Well, I'm just excited that the way Luke 10 is continuing to grow and reach into many pockets of the world. And I know that people all over the world are both asking these questions and also have answers to offer that are true for their context, that are going to be different from place to place. We aren't going to find that one cookie cutter perfect model for how church and life together needs to look. But what a grand adventure we're on to all be discovering how to tend to the Lord so that His good Spirit can lead us together into the way of life that is going to be good news both to us and to those around us who get to look in on that life as we live it out together.
That's great, and that's easily one of the strongest, always been the strongest argument for the existence of and continual engagement with humanity of a loving God.
Amen. Vibrant families of Jesus.
That's
everywhere.
Right.
That's what we
They
want.
actually matter. All right, Kent. Well, thank you very much for this conversation, and let's get back to work.
My pleasure.